How's it going, everybody? My name is John, and I just witnessed a doozy of an interview as Kamala Harris hopped on Fox for the first time ever with Bret Baier. The interview kicks off with them fighting almost immediately, as it's almost reminiscent of how Kamala treated Pence during the 2020 vice presidential debate, where she says, "Excuse me, can I finish?" as her and Bret just talk over each other. Bret is finally able to get off his first question, which is simply, how many illegal immigrants have actually entered the country under your administration?
Into the country over the last 3.5 years.
Well, I'm glad you raised the issue of immigration, because I agree with you. It is a topic of discussion that people want to rightly have. And you know what I'm going to talk about.
Yeah, but do you, just a number, do you think it's 1 million, 3 million?
Bret, let's just get to the point, okay? The point is that we have a broken immigration system that needs to be repaired.
That was just the first of many Kamala deviations that you're going to hear during this interview, which in my opinion got even worse on this topic when Bret asked a very good question of why these 3 different families had lost their daughters to illegal immigrants.
This is a specific policy decision by your administration to release these men into the country. So what I'm saying to you, do you owe
Bret,
those families an apology?
Let me just say, first of all, those are tragic cases. There's no question about that. There is no question about that. And I can't imagine the pain that the families of those victims have experienced for a loss that should not have occurred. So that is true. It is also true that if a border security had actually been passed 9 months ago, it would be
talking about the border bill 9 months ago. All 3 of those incidences happened way longer than 9 months ago in your administration. She takes no accountability. She takes no responsibility. Anyone who has a daughter should feel insulted by her answer. Bret Baier, exceeding my expectations, next ends up playing a clip of something that Kamala Harris said about trans surgeries for prisoners and illegals.
Surgery.
For prisoners.
For prisoners. Every transgender inmate in the prison system would have access.
Are you still in support of using taxpayer dollars to help prison inmates or detained illegal aliens to transition to another gender?
I will follow the law, and it's a law that Donald Trump actually followed.
He never advocated for that prison policy, and no gender transition surgeries
you know what, you got to take
during
responsible for what
his
happened
presidency.
in your administration.
Yeah, no surgeries happened in this presidency.
It's in black and white.
Would you still advocate for using taxpayer dollars for gender reassignment surgeries?
I will follow the law, just as I think Donald Trump would say he did.
What even was that answer? It was a simple yes or no question. She first tries to deviate it to Trump, says that he allowed it. Bret says, well, no, none happened. Well, it was a law that was active under his administration, which makes him responsible. It was just a yes or no question on if you support it.
He spent $20 million on those ads, trying to create a sense of fear in the voters, because he actually has no plan in this election that is about focusing on the needs of the American people. Whereas, at $20 million on that ad.
Why is Kamala trying to use this like a flex? She says 20 million like it's a lot. She cited the Wall Street Journal as a source earlier in the interview, so I'll cite it as a source right now. When they say over $600 million this election cycle has been put into political ads. So who really gives a if Trump spent 20 million on some ad of something you actually said? Bret Baier, once again coming in prepared, placed 2 clips from Kamala last week on the question of how she would be a different president than Joe Biden.
Done something differently than President Biden during the past 4 years.
There is not a thing that comes to mind in terms of, and I've been a part of most of the decisions that have had impact.
Under a Harris administration, what would the major changes be, and what would stay the same?
Sure. Well, I mean, I'm obviously not Joe Biden.
So, you're not Joe Biden, you're not Donald Trump, but nothing comes to mind that you would do differently?
Let me be very clear. My presidency will not be a continuation of Joe Biden's presidency.
Conclusion? Well, she doesn't know if she's going to be different than Joe Biden. This leads Kamala into a further mess when she tries to explain why her campaign is called the New Way Forward, even though she's been the vice president for the last 3.5 years.
Campaign slogan is a new way forward, and it's time to turn the page. You've been vice president for 3.5 years. So what are you turning the page from?
Well, first of all, turning the page from the last decade in which we've been burdened with the kind of rhetoric coming from Donald Trump that has been designed and implemented to divide our country and have Americans literally point fingers at each other.
That basically boiled down to, I'm a new way forward because Trump is mean and I'm really nice. Meanwhile, throughout the whole interview, she calls Trump unstable, describes him as extremely radical, and basically makes the whole interview about him. So I don't really see how he's the one that's so bad for this. Brett then asked the question of, why do you think 80% of Americans want to see a new direction in the country when you've been running it for the past 3.5 years?
They say the country is on the wrong track. If it's on the wrong track, that track follows 3.5 years of you being vice president and President Biden being president. That is what they're saying, 79% of them. Why are they saying that? If you're turning the page, you've been in office for 3.5 years.
And Donald Trump has been running for office.
But you've been the person holding the office.
Come on.
Madam
You
Vice
and I
President.
both know what I'm talking about. You and I both know what I'm talking about.
Kamala's answer? Well, Donald Trump's been running in politics for the past 8 years. The biggest thing I learned about Kamala Harris during this interview is that she takes absolutely zero accountability. Not for the illegal immigration, not for the economy, not for the unsettled Americans in the country, takes accountability for nothing. And finally, the moment that you all, or at least I, was desperately waiting for, and that was for Brett Baier to ask Harris about if she noticed Joe was going a bit slow.
When did you first notice that President Biden's mental faculties appeared diminished?
Joe Biden, I have watched from the Oval Office to the Situation Room, and he has the judgment and the experience to do exactly what he has done in making very important decisions on behalf of the American people.
There were no concerns raised?
Brett, Joe Biden is not on the ballot.
I understand.
And
but
Donald Trump
But
is.
you talked about it.
And Donald.
Her answer right there on Biden is enough to make me never vote Harris and possibly never even vote Democrat ever again. First, the agenda was, oh, Joe's fine. He's our future president. He's our current president. He's a hero for running against Trump. Then all of a sudden, he's a hero for dropping out. He did the right thing. Why would Joe be doing the right thing by dropping out unless you're admitting he's senile, which Kamala refuses to do during the interview? If she would have just said, I noticed, in the last 6 months of the administration, Joe Biden started to slow down. She's just a liar, though. She can't even admit that. I hope you guys enjoyed this quick little breakdown of the Kamala Harris-Brett Baier interview. There is a lot more to talk about. Basically, the whole interview is a highlight reel. I highly recommend you guys check it out. Make sure you hit a like and subscribe if you enjoyed this video. Let me know what you thought of it in the comments below, and I will see you all in the next one. Peace out.